A blackout isn't just an inconvenience, it's a total disruption of life as we know it. Imagine losing electricity for days, weeks, or even an entire month. No lights, no heating or cooling, no phone chargers, and no internet. Long-term blackouts aren't just some hypothetical scenario. Natural disasters, cyber attacks, or aging infrastructure can cause them, plunging entire regions into chaos. It's happened before, and it will happen again. Preparing for a 30-day blackout isn't optional if you want to stay safe and functional. Think of what you rely on daily. Electricity powers almost everything. Without preparation, you're left vulnerable to food shortages, freezing temperatures, and even threats to personal safety. A blackout doesn't wait for you to be ready. That's why a survival plan is essential. This video is your roadmap. It's not about luxury or comfort, it's about staying alive and stable for 30 days in the dark. We'll cover every critical aspect, from food and water storage to staying warm, protecting your home, and communicating without modern tech. Each section is built to get you through the worst. Because when the lights go out, what you do next matters. This is survival, plain and simple. 1. Preparation essentials. When a blackout hits, you're either ready or you're scrambling. Here's how you get yourself on the right side of that situation. First, you need to assess your needs. What do you and your household actually require to survive 30 days? Look at the size of your family if you have pets, and any specific medical needs. A household with kids or elderly members, for example, will need tailored supplies and extra care. Next, create an emergency plan. This is non-negotiable. If your family is split up when the blackout occurs, you need a way to communicate and regroup. Decide on meeting points, establish a neighborhood network, and figure out how to check on vulnerable members of the community. Write all this down. Memorize it. Now, your blackout survival kit, this is your lifeline. The basics are mandatory. Flashlights, batteries, power banks, and first aid supplies are the foundation. Think portable radios, blankets, non-perishable food, and manual tools like a can opener. Everything should be easy to grab and ready to go at a moment's notice. Do not skip the essentials. Financial preparation often gets overlooked, but it's critical. Banks and ATMs aren't reliable during an extended blackout. Have a reserve of small denomination bills tucked away safely. Protect your critical documents by keeping copies in a waterproof, fireproof container or digital backups accessible offline. Preparation isn't glamorous, but it's the difference between calm and chaos. Tick these boxes now or pay for it later. 2. Water storage and purification. Water is non-negotiable in a blackout survival scenario. You simply can't survive without it, so failing to plan for water storage and purification is as good as giving up. Here's the deal. Every person needs at least 1 gallon of water per day for drinking, cooking, and basic hygiene. That means for a 30-day blackout, you're looking at 30 gallons per person. Multiply that by however many people you're responsible for, and you've got your magic number. If you can't calculate this properly, you're setting yourself and your group up for disaster. When it comes to storage, there's no room for error. You need proper containers built to keep water safe and uncontaminated. Forget about using random buckets or trash cans. Use FDA-approved food-grade containers. Rotate your stored water every 6 months. Don't even think about being lazy here. Storing large quantities? Get water barrels. 55-gallon drums work great, but make sure they're sanitized, sealed, and kept in a cool, dark place. Now, no matter how much water you store, purification is an absolute must. Water can and will become unsafe over time, or you may need to find unclean sources. Filters should be your first line of defense. Get a high-quality one that can handle bacteria and protozoa. If you don't already own one, you're dropping the ball. Boiling water works too. Bring it to a rolling boil for at least a minute. Purification tablets are another easy option. Keep a stash on hand because they're lightweight, compact, and ridiculously effective. Worst comes to worst, learn to DIY with household bleach or make a charcoal filter. Excuses won't keep you hydrated, solutions will. Eventually, you'll need alternative sources. Rainwater collection is a no-brainer. Set up a rain barrel system in advance, even if just for backup. If there's no rain, you're looking at lakes, rivers, or ponds. Natural sources are filthy, don't kid yourself. Purify everything always. Be realistic. You're not going to stumble upon bottled spring water in the wild. Bottom line? You don't mess around with water. Store it, purify it, and always plan ahead to ensure you and your group have what you need to survive. If you underestimate your water needs, you won't last. Plan smarter, not harder. 3. Food storage and preparation. When you're stuck in a blackout for up to 30 days, food becomes a top priority. You can't just wing it, you need a solid plan. First things first, stockpile non-perishable foods. Canned goods, dry grains, freeze-dried meals, and protein bars should be at the top of your list. These are lifesavers when the fridge is useless, and they last a long time. Get a mix of items to keep some variety in your meals because eating the same thing every day will wear on you fast. Next, plan ahead for 30 days worth of meals. This isn't about gourmet recipes, it's about surviving. Rotate your stock regularly so nothing goes bad. When you're doing your weekly grocery shopping, think about adding a few extras to your stash. It's simpler than buying it all in one go. And don't forget nutrition and balance. Yeah, protein bars are great, but you can't survive on them alone. A mix of carbs, fats, and proteins will keep you going longer and stronger. Storage is critical. Cool, dry places are a must. If your food gets wet, hot, or infested with pests, you're screwed. Use airtight containers to keep everything safe. And make sure your storage spots are far from areas that heat up, like near windows or stoves. Double-check that any canned goods aren't dented or rusty. Those could be spoiled, and this isn't the time to gamble on food safety. Cooking is a challenge during a blackout, but it's manageable if you're prepared. Without a working stove, you'll need alternatives like propane stoves, solar cookers, or even a fireplace. Camping gear is your new best friend here. Learn some campfire cooking techniques ahead of time, or you'll be eating cold soup out of a can. Better yet, practice before disaster strikes. Trust me, the middle of a crisis isn't when you want to figure out how to use a solar cooker. Bottom line, food isn't just survival, it's morale. With a smart approach to storage and preparation, you'll stay fed, healthy, and focused. It's one less thing to stress about when the lights go out for weeks. Get it done now so you're not scrambling later. 4. Heating and cooling solutions. When the power is out, managing your home's temperature becomes a battle of resourcefulness. Winter blackouts are brutal, so staying warm is about using everything at your disposal. Insulate your home as best as you can, seal up windows, block drafts under doors, and close off unused rooms to trap heat where you need it most. Layer up. Don't rely on just one bulky sweater, it's all about thermal layering. Grab every blanket you can find, especially thermal ones if you've prepared. If you have a portable heater, use it wisely, but always make sure there's enough ventilation to avoid dangerous carbon monoxide buildup. No heater? Get creative. Bundle up, make a cocoon in a smaller room, and conserve body heat. It's basic survival. On the flip side, summer blackouts will test you in completely different ways. Heat exhaustion is no joke, so keeping cool is your priority. First, focus on ventilation. Open windows strategically to create a cross breeze, but block out direct sunlight with heavy curtains or blankets. Stay hydrated constantly. If you're not drinking water, you're doing it wrong. DIY cooling methods can work wonders. Dampen a cloth and place it on your neck or wrists, or make your own swamp cooler by placing a fan behind a bowl of ice, assuming you have a generator or battery-powered fan. Prioritize shade. If your house feels like an oven, step outside into a shaded area. It's often cooler there. Managing temperature without any power is a balancing act. You'll need to work smart, not just hard. Seal up your home to maintain indoor temperatures, whether you're keeping in warmth during winter or blocking out heat in summer. Zone your living space and focus your efforts on 1 or 2 rooms. Keep the door shut tightly to minimize energy drift. Ignoring this isn't an option. You either make the space manageable, or you'll waste precious resources fighting against the weather. At the end of the day, heating and cooling are survival basics during a long blackout. You won't live comfortably, but you can endure if you stay proactive. Adapt, improvise, and stick to the plan. The goal isn't luxury, it's making sure you and your family get through in one piece. 5. Lighting, power, and tools. When you're stuck in a blackout, having proper lighting and power solutions isn't optional. It's mandatory for survival. You can't just sit around hoping for daylight to fix everything. You need backup lighting, portable power sources, and a solid set of tools at your disposal. This isn't about luxury. It's about staying functional and safe. First, lighting is critical. Without light, you're fumbling in the dark, which is a recipe for accidents and frustration. I recommend LED flashlights. They're bright, long-lasting, and reliable. Toss in a few solar-powered lanterns. They don't rely on batteries and work well inside and outside. Candles can work, but don't be careless. Make sure you've got a safe setup to avoid fires. Accidents during a blackout are last on the list of things you need. Next up, power. The days of waiting around for the grid to flicker back on are gone. Portable power sources are your best friend here, and they're not that hard to get in advance. Solar chargers go a long way in keeping your devices alive. Get yourself a couple of durable power banks. Some good ones can charge phones multiple times before dying. If you need more juice to run appliances, think about a small generator. Yes, it's an investment, but having power when everything is down is priceless. Don't forget tools. Forget fancy gadgets. You need practical, dependable tools. A solid multi-purpose tool will be your go-to for cutting, tightening, or prying things open. Add some manual hand tools like wrenches and hammers because there's no electricity for your power drill. Keep a roll of duct tape on hand. It's the unsung hero for quick fixes. Don't underestimate the value of ropes either. They can be surprisingly handy, whether it's for securing items or creating makeshift drying lines. At the end of the day, preparing for lighting, power, and tools is about staying in control when chaos hits. It's not complicated. Just take time now to stock up and organize. You don't want to be the person fumbling in the dark, wishing you'd thought ahead. 6. Communication during a blackout. Staying connected during a blackout can mean the difference between survival and chaos. Power won't be there to charge your phone or keep the internet running, so I need to plan ahead. The first step toward reliable communication is staying informed. A battery-powered radio is non-negotiable. Whether it's a standard one or a hand-crank version, I make sure to have it ready with extra batteries. Pre-downloaded emergency apps on my phone can be useful too, but once the battery is dead, they're useless. I don't rely on tech alone. Next, I think about signaling. Sometimes, I won't be able to talk to someone directly, so sending emergency signals becomes crucial. Whistles are small but effective for grabbing attention, especially in dense areas or if I'm stuck somewhere. A signaling mirror takes up almost no space and can reflect sunlight to help rescuers find me. Even something as simple as brightly colored flags or fabric can signal distress or mark my location. If I'm in a pinch, I use natural tools, rocks arranged in an SOS pattern or big branches laid out to signify a rescue call. Now, staying connected with others. Walkie-talkies are one of my top priorities. They run on batteries, have decent range, and don't depend on cell towers. I pair these with extra batteries to keep them functional for weeks. For longer-term or extreme scenarios, I invest in a satellite phone. Yeah, it's pricey, but if I'm serious about survival, it's worth every dollar for when regular networks fail. I also don't overlook the value of a strong local community. I establish contacts with neighbors or local groups beforehand, so we can coordinate using simple methods like whistle combinations or pre-decided meeting points. This isn't about overcomplicating things. It's about being prepared and knowing how to maintain communication when the usual systems are gone. I don't wait until a blackout happens to pull these items out. I test my gear ahead of time and keep everything in an easy-to-access spot. If I've thought this through, I'll stay informed, stay connected, and emerge from the blackout a lot better off than most. 7. Maintaining hygiene and sanitation. Hygiene isn't glamorous, but during a 30-day blackout, it's survival critical. Without running water and regular systems in place, things can go downhill fast if you're not prepared. You can't afford to get sick when every resource counts, and trust me, poor hygiene is a surefire way to invite illness. Here's what you need to nail down. Personal cleanliness. First off, you need to keep yourself clean even if water is scarce. Prioritize water conservation. No showers, just the bare minimum to stay functional. Wet wipes are your best friend here, and they're worth their weight in gold when soap and water aren't an option. Dry shampoo will help keep your hair from turning into a greasy mess. It's not about staying pretty, it's about keeping manageable hygiene that prevents skin infections or irritation. Waste disposal. Trash and human waste are the next big headaches. Garbage piles up quicker than you think, and when the municipal services stop, it's your problem. Double bag your trash to keep pests at bay and create a designated trash area far from your living quarters. For human waste, you need a backup toilet system. A bucket toilet works in a pinch. Line it with trash bags and add sawdust, kitty litter, or even dry leaves after each use to manage odor. If you can, composting toilets are a safer, more sustainable option. Never, and I mean never, handle waste disposal casually. It invites bacteria, pests, and all kinds of disease-causing chaos. Preventing disease. Hand washing is non-negotiable. Clean your hands before eating, after bathroom use, and anytime they get filthy. Use soap and a little clean water. If that's not possible, have hand sanitizer stocked up. Likewise, keep pests like flies, rats, or mosquitoes under control. They're major carriers of disease, and you don't want those lurking around your food or shelter. Cover your food, store it safely, and handle it like its contamination could kill you, because it just might. Sanitation isn't optional during a blackout. Mess this up, and you're setting yourself up for sickness, which is the last thing you need when resources and help are limited. Stay clean, manage waste, and protect your environment. It's not about comfort, it's about making it through. 8. Home and personal safety. When the lights go out during a blackout, the last thing you want is to compromise your safety at home. Securing your home is priority number 1. Reinforce your locks. If they seem flimsy, you're asking for trouble. Don't forget the windows. Even the best door locks won't matter if someone can just climb through a cracked window. Install alarms if you haven't already, or at least use noise deterrents like makeshift tripwires or simple bells. Anything to alert you of movement outside when things go silent is worth it. Accidents can happen in the best of times, and during a blackout, they're even more likely. Fire prevention is non-negotiable. Candles might seem like a cozy option, but can quickly turn into a fire hazard. Use them sparingly and never leave them unattended. Better yet, rely on battery-powered lanterns or flashlights. If you have to handle generators, know what you're doing. Keep them outdoors and away from windows or vents to avoid deadly carbon monoxide poisoning. Mishandling fuel is just as dangerous. Store it safely away from heat sources and kids. Common sense and preparation go a long way. Emergencies are bound to spring up, so be prepared. A well-stocked first aid kit is a must-have. Bandages, antiseptic, painkillers, and anything else you might need in a pinch should always be at hand. Brush up on some basic first aid techniques, too. It's not hard, and it could save a life. Knowing how to stop bleeding, handle burns, or perform CPR can mean the difference between a survivable situation and a disaster. Don't assume someone else will know. Step up and be that person. Dealing with potential intruders isn't something most people like to think about. But you must be blunt with yourself. Desperate times bring out desperate people. Establish boundaries around your home, especially at night. Motion-sensing lights are ideal, but if power's out, some deterrents like trip alarms or even an intimidating dog can work wonders. Have self-defense tools you're comfortable using. Whether that's pepper spray, some sort of bat or stick, or something more serious, make sure you know how to use it effectively. The point is clear. Your safety and your family's come first, always. 9. Mental and emotional well-being. When the grid's down for 30 days, keeping your head straight is just as important as stocking up on food and water. The mental game is what's going to separate those who crack under the stress from those who make it through in one piece. And trust me, this is no small task. Preparing psychologically for 30 days without power. First, let's be real. You've got to adjust your mindset from the get-go. Life won't feel normal, and it's not supposed to. Everything will be slower, harder, and more inconvenient. Accept that now. Don't waste precious energy wishing for what you can't have. Instead, focus on what's in front of you. Build resilience by figuring out solutions instead of dwelling on problems. Freaking out won't turn the lights back on, so stay calm and rational. You'll need every ounce of clarity to adapt and make smart decisions. Keeping morale high. When the power's out, boredom and negativity can creep in fast. You've got to stay ahead of it. Keep the family busy. Play cards, tell stories, maybe work on crafts or skills like whittling or sewing, things that don't require electricity. If you have kids, get creative and treat this like a strange kind of adventure. Laughter helps, even if it feels forced at first. Pull everyone together for meals, and make the small things feel important. A little entertainment, even if it's basic, can go a long way. Grab a book, pick up a hobby, or start a journal. Staying occupied keeps morale high and the mind calm. Idle hands and an idle mind? A recipe for misery. Managing isolation and stress. Stress and loneliness will hit at some point. It's inevitable. When that happens, fight it. Meditation works for some people. It's as simple as sitting still and focusing on your breath. If that's not your thing, try journaling. Getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper will help you process everything going on. If you can communicate with others, do it. Talk to your family, neighbors, or trusted people. Isolation breeds fear, but connection keeps that fear in check. Don't ignore your emotions, but don't wallow either. Stay proactive because stress is the enemy of clear thinking. Mental and emotional preparedness might not sound as important as food and water, but without it, you're toast. Get your head in the game before the lights go out. It'll make all the difference. 10. Checklist and maintenance plan. When it comes to surviving a blackout, preparation is everything. Point 10 of this survival plan is all about having a solid checklist and maintenance routine, so when the lights go out, you're not left fumbling in the dark. Here's what you need to know. Blackout preparedness checklist. First, get a proper checklist together. You don't want to be guessing when an emergency hits. Your checklist should cover the essentials: food, water, flashlights, batteries, first aid kit, portable power banks, and sanitation supplies. Include any meds you or your family might need, and don't forget items for pets if you've got them. Know where everything is stored and keep it all easily accessible. Print the list out. A digital version won't help if your phone dies or you lose power. Rotating and maintaining supplies. Supplies don't last forever, which means you need to rotate and maintain them. Food, water, and even batteries expire. Check expiration dates regularly and replace them before they go bad. No one wants to deal with spoiled food or dead batteries during an emergency. Test your equipment on a set schedule. Flashlights, generators, water purifiers, make sure they work before you actually need them. Faulty gear during a blackout won't just be frustrating, it'll be dangerous. Practicing your plan. Now that you've got your checklist and supplies sorted, you need to practice. You don't want your first blackout to be the first time you're figuring things out. Simulate a blackout at home. Turn off your power and run through the motions. Test your backup power sources. Cook a meal with your emergency stove, and find ways to manage your time and resources without modern conveniences. This is how you identify gaps in your preparation. Maybe your flashlight batteries drain too fast or your emergency food takes too long to cook. Figure it out now, not later. This isn't about being paranoid, it's about being practical. With the right checklist, maintained supplies, and solid practice, you'll be ready to face a blackout head-on. 11. Post-blackout recovery. Surviving a blackout is only half the battle. What comes after is the real test of your preparedness and resilience. Once the power is back, it's time to roll up your sleeves and clean up the mess. First, I always prioritize assessing my supplies. I take stock of what I used, what ran out too fast, and what I didn't touch. The goal is to learn from the experience and restock smarter for the next time. If I discovered a glaring hole in my plan, it's on me to fix it immediately. There's no room for being lazy. Mistakes now could be deadly later. Damage repair is the next critical step. Blackouts can leave destruction in their wake, so I start by inspecting appliances, especially anything tied to electricity. Did that power surge fry my fridge or any other electronics? If yes, it's better to handle that fast before it spirals into a bigger problem. Then comes the gross part, dealing with spoiled food. Anything that sat in a powerless fridge or freezer too long gets tossed immediately. No questions asked. Trust me, food poisoning is not how you want to follow up surviving a blackout. When that's done, I turn my attention to home repairs. From minor fixes to major damage, all of it needs addressing quickly. Ignoring these issues only invites bigger headaches down the line. Once the chaos is dealt with, the focus shifts to getting life back to normal. Post-blackout life means reintegration, plain and simple. Routines probably got thrown out the window during the crisis, and it's up to me to bring order back to my day-to-day. I flag essential tasks I ignored during the blackout, like catching up on bills or work. Reconnecting with others is also important. Whether it's checking on my neighbors, talking through what happened with family, or just venting to a friend, social bonds feel more crucial than ever after facing adversity. Recovery isn't glamorous, and it sure isn't easy. But it's the price of surviving and staying prepared for the future. Every blackout teaches a lesson, sometimes harsh, but always necessary. The key is to take those lessons seriously and make yourself more ready than you were before. Failure to do so is just inviting disaster the next time the lights go out. 12. Final tips and resources. When it comes to surviving a 30-day blackout, preparation is everything. But what happens when those 30 days turn into 60 or more? You can't afford to stop learning and improving your plan. Here's my advice, blunt and to the point. You either get ready now, or you deal with the consequences when it's too late. Additional survival resources. You don't have to figure this all out by yourself. There's a wealth of knowledge out there, and you should take advantage of it. Start with books. Some of the tried and true survival books can teach you everything from rationing food to purifying water without high-tech gadgets. Look for materials that cover urban survival strategies as well as wilderness tactics. You need to be prepared for different situations. Next, use the internet while you still have access to it. Pinpoint reputable websites and forums for preppers. Learn from others' experiences and failures. Some people have already walked this road, Their mistakes can save you time and resources. But don't waste your time on sketchy clickbait articles or gimmicky gear lists. Stick with no BS educational reviews and guides. Finally, connect with your local or online community groups. Survival isn't always a solo sport. Knowledge-sharing networks, meetups, and training events provide an edge. People have specialized skills that you might lack, like first aid or mechanical know-how. Building relationships before a disaster happens could mean all the difference later. Final advice for long-term preparedness. It's not enough to just survive the first 30 days. Think ahead. Fast forward to the 31st day or the 100th. Ask yourself, what's my strategy if no help comes? Stocking up on supplies now is great, but you can only store so much. You'll need to build systems to replenish resources for the long haul. Water filtration setups, sustainable food sources like a garden or small livestock, and alternative energy solutions like solar panels. Staying vigilant is your second line of defense. Threats don't go away after the initial panic dies down. Desperation drives people to do crazy things, so keep your security measures strong. Locks, barriers, cameras, or even weapons where legal and necessary. Continue keeping an eye on entry points, supplies, and anything critical to survival. Lastly, never stop learning. Skills like fire starting, sewing, basic medical care, and tool repair will always be essential. Make it a habit to test your preparedness regularly. Run drills, audit your inventory, and challenge yourself to operate without modern conveniences for practice. Survival isn't a set-it-and-forget-it game, it's a lifestyle. The only way to stay ready is to keep adapting.